Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Don McCoy, president of the Fulshear-Katy Area Chamber of Commerce, and this is sort of a special Veterans Day chamber chat edition of our chamber chat. We want to celebrate Veterans Day, and I think it's something we'll try to do every year is find a veteran who is compelling, that has a story to tell, and we will post this up through our social media. So this is our first one. And we are honored to have with us Mr. Brian Talley. And Brian is a former United States Marine, and he has written and authored a book called I Didn't Choose This Job, It Chose Me. That's a compelling title in itself. Good morning, Brian, and say hello to everybody that will be watching.
Good morning, Don. Thanks for having me this morning.
You bet. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about you and your stint in the military, I guess, in the Marine Corps, and then we'll kind of wave into that. How your story began and what your challenge was, because what you've done is something I understand nobody else has ever done, right? So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was one chosen for this job, and I answered the call to service when it was my time. And like I said, I didn't choose this job; it chose me because it was not a lot of fun at all. So, former sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, served 5 years active duty, and then I served another 3 years in the active reserves. So I did about a total of 8 years. And then after that, I went on to start a custom landscape company in a family, just a born entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And then one day, back in 2016 in January, I couldn't get out of bed. And, I had, extreme back pain and an onslaught of just agony that overcame my body. And, we knew something was wrong.
Was these ailments ultimately attributable to your service in the Marine Corps? Is that right?
I mean, nobody really knows. The infectious disease doctors that finally, came to the conclusion of, I had this bone-eating, staph infection that went undiagnosed for over 4 months. And so, they think that I could have gotten something overseas during my service, or this is something that, just suddenly happened to just appear in my bloodstream one day and attach to my spine, and then finally woke up after, like if it was something overseas, it perhaps went dormant, and then it just woke up one morning.
And so your challenge not only began physically with the pain and everything that you endured, but then your next challenge was seeking the proper treatment for your ailments and the diagnosis. And I take it, did you go to the VA for that?
Correct. So in January 2016, when this sudden onslaught of pain happened, my wife took me to the VA ER in Loma Linda, California, where I lived. And, it was a series of delayed and denied care. They were treating the symptoms and not the cause. I was injected with Dilaudid multiple times, Kenalog, methocarbamol, prescribed bags and bags and bags of pills to include very high strength opioids. Very, very long story short, this would end up being a very egregious case of medical malpractice and medical negligence that would span a period of, of over 4 months as I lay dying in a chair, in my home. Every red flag, wow, what that I posed with my health, should have been that, I needed emergency care every single time that we ended up at the doorstep of the VA hospital. And that's just something that we did not get. Denied blood tests, denied MRIs, finally, after months of advocacy of my wife, working hard to get me seen, and I was completely in an incapacitated state. I didn't even know what was going on. Like I said, finally, after 4 months, a private surgeon in San Diego opened me up, and he had quite the surprise as I lay open on the operating table.
Well, before we get into that, I have to say that a lot of times, when you're under doctor's care, regardless, and they start treating symptoms as opposed to the root cause of the problem, they tend to cover up the pain that's actually keeps exasperating itself with the opioids and the painkillers, and you become sort of the zombie. There's nobody to advocate really on your behalf except your wife or loved ones, but they really don't know what state you're in. Your decision making is probably not 100%, I would think. And a lot of times we take it on blind faith. Oh, you're a doctor. Sure, I'll take this pill, that pill, take that injection, and hope that it all works the best. I think what a lot of people should learn from this, especially now that we're trying to force vaccinations, and I don't want to get into that can of worms, but as an American, you have the right to question your doctor and your treatment, and to make sure it's doing the best for you, rather than just let me get you out of my office and I'll see you later. And it seems that's kind of what the VA, unfortunately, was doing, and denying even diagnostic care. It seems unfathomable to me. Now, this was during when President Trump, I believe, was trying to rebrand or reassess the VA to help our veterans. And was this during that same time, or was it early before that?
I believe it was right before he was elected. So this was January of 2016.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're exactly right. You hit the nail right on the head when you said, you believe that the doctors are operating in good faith. I'm not a doctor. So if a doctor tells me that it's a low back sprain and there's nothing to be, worried about, take these pills, take these injections, you'll be fine. And, when you say that the opioids are covering up the actual pain, I was taking almost nearly 40 pills a day, not just the opioids, but everything else that was prescribed to me that totaled, nearly 40 pills a day. And, my wife is coming in every, 4 hours, with a handful of pills, my cocktail of pills to keep me just alive, essentially, in a chair. And even with all this covering up and all this masking of the pain, I still couldn't walk. I was still in, excruciating pain, unlike anything you could ever understand. I was eaten alive, from the inside out, starting in my spine and then in my internal organs for a period of 4 months. And every doctor that I've ever spoke to says that I'm definitely living on borrowed time, because, there's no way that I should have survived 2 weeks of this, let alone 4 months before sepsis would have set in and completely overtaken my body.
Well, and just living in that condition has got to be excruciating. I will say that, not to be political about it, but I guess even when Trump came in and decided to focus on the VA and really try to clean up yet another part of the swamp, if you will. My gosh, how many veterans have gone through the same thing you had before you decided to do something about it? And that's my segue into this next section. For years and years, and it infuriates me that the men and women that give their time, their lives, and their family and everything to the service of our country to protect us, to be denied just diagnosis and denied care and just walk away. It's part of that bureaucracy that harms our people, and it just infuriates me. And God bless all of you out there that have been through this, but I want to say God bless you, Brian, because when you got your mind, I guess you came around. We're going to go ahead and take you to the story. You decided enough's enough, and you decided to do something about it. Again, this job chose you. You didn't choose it. So now you're at the point, you're on all these pills, you're getting, but when was that point you said, dang it, that's it, we got to do something here?
So after I was opened up and after we came to the realization of what happened and all the permanent injuries that I had suffered, we filed a tort claim within the VA for damages and losses and pain and suffering. I would end up losing my business, my livelihood. We generated and accumulated credit card debt trying to stay afloat. I was the breadwinner of the house, so my family had always depended on my income. when that income stream stopped, we didn't know, like, we were scared, we were scared to death, we're going to lose everything. So after 6 months, after I filed my tort claim for loss, the VA attorneys contacted me and said that they failed to meet the standard of care. There was a breach in liability and that they were going to be settling my claim. They led us down this garden path, stating that everything was going to be okay. You're not going to lose your home and everything you've ever worked so hard for in your entire life.
Okay.
Well, that would later turn into a letter we received several months later stating that they denied everything based on a technicality and an employment status of the said clinician that was accused of the medical malpractice. And she was not only accused, she actually was found guilty of this along with several other VA employees. However, what the VA Office of General Counsel did, and they did it very effectively, is they were able to cherry pick the clinician. One of the clinicians that was involved in my care found the employment status of this clinician and then cited a law back from 1946 that states that the US government is not responsible for the care or lack thereof that is provided by an independent contractor. So therefore, they see their way out of these claims and out of these, compensation for negligence and malpractice. So this put me on my knees. I were just recovering from medical malpractice that nearly took my life, that's left me with permanent injuries. And then the dagger through the heart, the legal malpractice that had just ensued. And I didn't have anything left. I was 99% done. I'd always been a winner in life. So as somebody that's always been, a leader and somebody that's never given up, and I was done. And one day, about a year later, I said, enough's enough. I have 1% left to give. I was tired of just taking all my pills all the time. I just, one day I said, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to change this law, put it all into God's hands. And I went to my congressman. That lasted about 2 weeks because my congressman was indicted on federal charges for stealing money and campaign donations. So essentially, I had to become my own member of Congress. I had to draft my own bill, and I had to take 4 separate flights to DC and back to Southern California, all red-eye flights, because I was working this on my own time and on my own dime. And, again, a very long story short, I would ultimately end up having 4 bills introduced in Congress, all with my name on it. And President Trump would end up essentially signing my bill into law right before he left his office of the presidency on January 5th of 2021. That would end up closing a 74-year VA legal loophole that has destroyed the lives of veterans and their families for generations.
Wow. And to know how close, Brian, you came to, if Trump hadn't signed, President Trump hadn't, signed that in January, the next administration would have come along and it probably would have sat on a shelf somewhere and back to square one for everybody, I would think. But you persevered, and I think that's a real tribute to my dad being a former Marine and being raised by a sergeant as well in the Marine Corps. Is you adapt, you overcome, and you persevere, and you find a way to get to the solution. And you did that, which is pretty amazing that you went to your congressman. I mean, golly, you've already been put to your knees. You already had a dagger in your heart. And then you get the gumption to get up and fight some more. And you go to your congressman and gosh darn it, he gets indicted 2 weeks. And you're going, seriously, I mean, the old adage is God doesn't give you more than you can handle. But I would almost want to look up and go, really? So you decided, okay, so I'm going to do this without a congressman. I'm going to go ahead, and you wrote the bill yourself, right?
Correct. I created an online legislative team
Okay.
that, I put all of the tally bill ideas. That's what I called the law, is the tally bill.
Right.
And I, would end up contacting, government, teachers in high school that would see it. They put it into government form. Some even had it in their, in their teachings in their high school class. They would generate a real life bill, which actually became,
Really?
a bill number and stuff like that. So it was very interesting on how this all, came to be. But, I had to play politics in there. I'm not a trained lobbyist. I'm not a trained advocate. I was working strictly strength through determination, all while fighting my emotional, mental, and physical pain, and still do today. And just influencing these members of Congress in the most divided Congress in the history of our country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And to have Democrats and Republicans and liberals and independents all across the aisle with me, I essentially played the adult in the room and say, guys, look, we've got 20.2 million American veterans in this country that are all susceptible to this. We don't know who the independent contractors are in the VA because they all wear VA badges and VA doctor's coats, and they all see VA patients, and hell, they have keys to the building. So that would essentially make them employees. But as soon as they get in trouble, the VA has their way out.
Yeah.
And then the crazier thing about my story is, after they denied my claim on a technicality, they said I needed to sue the clinician in state court. Well, the day they dropped that letter, I was 3 days out of my California state statute of limitations, therefore denying my right to due process in state court. They denied my right to due process in federal court, and they left me and my family holding the bag with zero accountability and zero justice. So, again, this was so egregious. It has hurt tens and thousands of veterans over the last 74 years. And, the bucks did stop with me, and I was accountable for everything I did. And I showed it on my Rally Around Tally Facebook page. Every day I had a mission, and every day I would work it. And again, I would hold myself accountable to that, to what I was doing and everything, everybody I was contacting. I ended up generating over, 11,000 hours of service to the country, all for the good of the country. To include, over 5,000 emails and another 2,000 phone calls. And yeah, it was quite the crazy, story for sure.
Well, Brian, I got to say is that what you've led us to hear today is that this is something every genuine, good-hearted American should know that they have the right to do, because your Congress and your president work for you. They don't tell you what to do. Unfortunately, it seems to be switching the other way around quicker than we realize. Next thing you know, we're being oppressed, and in some ways we are today. Our military, through the VA system for years and years, these men are used to following orders. These men and women, they're used to following orders. And when it comes from the VA, it's kind of like an order. And but you have the right as an American, a constitutional right, to petition your government, to question your government, to get up and get things done. And you are the epitome of that, Brian. There's more to your story, in my opinion, than just the thing you accomplished, which is amazing in itself, but that you did go and petition and got through the weeds in the swamp to accomplish something for the people, for the military. Mm-hmm. And I commend you on that. And I hope this is a lesson that obviously you're teaching in some schools, if they'll let you teach this lesson in some schools. That's also another whole can of worms. But you've written a book that is available, that people can read about it, share with your kids, share with your family, share with everybody, on not just the story of Brian Talley and how he got there, and the book is This Job Chose Me, I Didn't Choose It. And it's available on Amazon, right? And anywhere.
Yeah.
You got a copy of it there?
Yeah, so here's what the book looks like. I didn't choose this job, it chose me, again, by Brian J. Talley.
Yeah.
And, I, walk people down this frightening path.
Wow.
The Department of Veterans Affairs, and give an inside look on how they completely manipulated, my case and the case of so many others,
Yeah.
and how I got involved and how I had a seat at the table and how I hand delivered a solution, to Congress, and how I walked, the halls of Congress, just urging lawmakers to do the right thing and to bring transparency and accountability back to the VA, where we have been lacking that for far too long. This is something
Yeah,
that
Brian,
yeah.
I'm sorry, you're right. But Brian, let me ask you, is this sort of the same thing that, you did it on behalf of the VA and on behalf of the military, but, we're seeing more and more our government trying to manipulate people who have cases against the government, manipulate us in various ways, lie to us, out lie to us. Now, to the average American that's not a military person, you don't have to sit and take it, right, Brian? You,
I didn't. What I did is I was scared to death. Don't get me wrong. I was scared to death. I was in pain. I was emotionally a wreck. I was, mentally a wreck. I was scared for my life. I was like, I'm going up against made men here. And I had to do this in a very, strategic manner of killing them with kindness, and just going in there and saying, hey, look, this is what happened to me and my family. I've got 4 kids and a wife, and I have lots of people that depend on me and lots of people that love me. And I have a lot of veterans that are depending on me to get this job done. And I said, look, is this acceptable? And and finally I got to meet with more and more people. I started low and I ended up going all the way up. I was sitting at the table with the Department of Veterans Affairs, sitting across from the number 1, number 2, and number 3 guys at the VA. I would end up having Chief of Staff Mark Meadows be a tremendous champion of me, and dozens and dozens of other members of Congress that I finally had brought together, again, all for the good of the country. But I mean, it didn't start that way. It took years of just pushing in a way that was absolutely positive. I wasn't burning down stuff. I wasn't hitting the streets. Everything that we did was honorable. And it was the way, you can still be heard in this country by doing it the honorable way. It's hard. It's very difficult, but it can be done. And it just takes the right mindset, and it takes the right passion, and it takes a strategy, and it takes a plan. And I think if you can accomplish all of that and put it all on paper and deliver it in a way that can be heard effectively by all sides, that's where you will see great success in anything you do. And anybody can do it. Heck, I was a landscape contractor and a Marine. So people would say, oh, that guy's not very smart. Well, I'm not, but I still got it done. And I still, put pen to paper, and I was able to, again, effectively hand deliver a solution that is all common sense. This is common sense here. And, again, strength through pure determination got this job done. A lot of prayer, a lot of friends, a lot of support, and just folks like you who have helped raise awareness, of this systemic issue that, like I said, that has gone on for far too long.
Well, golly, we have blown through a good 30 minutes. This is awesome. And Brian, I want to invite you to come speak to our chamber, and we'll record this also and get it out. But I want to say God bless you for everything you've done. You've proven not only that America can still be America if you've got the will and the fight to get up and stand up for what's right. And yeah, you're right. You can be hurt. They got all kinds of tools up there, from the IRS to, God knows what. And when you said you're fighting against made men, isn't that sad that we got to call our politicians made men? And if you don't know what that is, Google it or watch a movie. But
Can I add one more thing, Don?
Yeah, sure.
I have I'm starting to figure out who I am, my identity, and and I want to get into speaking. I developed and I engineered this PowerPoint presentation of 70 slides that I go through in about an hour. But I think that connecting the dots through pictures and the passion I have through my voice and speaking can bring and add a ton of value to anybody that can hear me. And I don't even charge anything to speak. I just want to get out and speak because I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. It's therapeutic. Again, I think whoever can sit down or invite me out to speak to their group of individuals, whether it be small or large, can help really, again, add value and give people everything that they need with that never quit, never say die attitude.
Sure.
And I think if more and more people heard my story, we would have more and more people starting to stand up again for the good of the country. So I can deliver, a lot of value to those folks.
Brian, how would somebody reach out to you if they wanted to get you as a speaker or, get in touch with you? How would they do that, Brian?
Via email. My email is the voice of the valley, Mr. Tally @gmail.com.
The voice of the valley.
Yep. The voice of the valley, Mr. Tally @gmail.com. And, another thing you can do is you can add that email to the link of this video, or they can, contact me on Facebook at Rally Around Tally, or they can contact you. I know that you are the legend of this area, and people have a direct line to you as well. So, and then you've got all my contact information as well.
Absolutely,
but, what I'm doing in my reinvention process. I'm reinventing myself, and doing everything I can to help heal through everything that I've been through, what my family have been through, and again, just passion, perseverance, and resilience.
Well, Brian, while I have you on here, and if people are watching, I would like to invite you to be our guest speaker on February the 9th. Are you available on 2022, February the 9th?
I will make it happen, and I would be honored.
Honored
to get on that stage.
At our chamber meeting, I think this is going to be awesome to have you as our guest speaker on February the 9th. Look for our chamber, Fulshear-Katy.com. We'll get all the information on there. You'll probably have some books available, but the main thing I want this meeting to be, or to hear your story, but also how you as an American can stand up and make your voice heard without having to burn down buildings, riot, and do all these crazy things. There's a way to do this, an honorable way, as you said, and correctly. And this is the way our country was meant to be, is hear the different sides, but civilly come to a conclusion and get things done. Brian,
yes, our country has had the people of our country have become very afraid of our government. When I was doing this, I had friends calling me saying, "Do not do this." And again, I was on borrowed time. If this job would have killed me, I was okay with that, because I knew this was wrong, and somebody had to stand up again for the good of the country, and to protect and serve and honor 20.2 million American veterans who are all susceptible to this. And, I'm not anti-VA, but mistakes happen. And when clinicians screw up and they destroy a man's life or a woman's life, they need to be held accountable for those actions. And there needs to be a clear path of legal recourse. And that's just all I've done here. It's really simple. And now I'm glad I can say that we've done that, and we have, brought that accountability back to the VA. But I sincerely cannot wait to be your guest and speak on February 9th. I can guarantee you one thing, that everybody who will hear me speak, they will leave that building a changed person after they see my slides and after they hear me speak. I can guarantee you that much.
Fantastic. And that being February, the month of St. Valentine's Day and everything like that, I think let's just get our love for our country back and get our passion back for what we should be standing for. Brian,
absolutely.
Thank you so very much. God bless you. Thank you for your service to our country, and thank you for standing up for what's right. And creating a pathway for the thousands and thousands of veterans that have suffered, and now they have at least some light that they can go towards and be healed and become be our brothers and sisters again and get away from all this. So I just have too many metaphors in my mind. But anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and close this now, and we hope that you enjoy this. And remember, this Veterans Day, make sure you see somebody that's a veteran. If they're wearing their hat, just make sure you go up and just tell them thank you. That's all you got to do is thank them, shake their hand, and that's probably 1,000. Maybe you'd be surprised the good that'll do. So thank you, Brian, and we'll be in touch with you here soon with on February the 9th. God bless everybody. We'll see you next time on Chamber Chat. See you soon.